Primordial Desolation. I am the Dragon Ancestor. I choose for the dragon race to retreat from the very beginning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 277. Stop talking nonsense. I want the two of you to swear that from now on you will never fight each other and settle the old grudges. Otherwise, from now on, no matter which one of you is killed, I will no longer ask the teacher for help. I can naturally see that the two of them still have the intention to fight, and immediately ordered. However, the two of them obviously refused to give in, looking at each other with blood-red eyes, and the smell of gunpowder was very strong. If I were not here, they would definitely continue fight. What do you mean by both? The Western religion has established itself as Buddhism and competes with Taoism for the right path, but you still refuse to let go of your prejudices against each other. The more the two of them behave like this, the more angry I will become. Brother, I have to obey the orders of you and the teacher, but Tongshan killed me and almost made it impossible for me to be resurrected. This hatred cannot be easily understood, Yuanshi said coldly. Tongshan also showed no weakness at all. If he wants to entangle me, I will fight to the death. I was furious, and the two of them turned a deaf ear to his words. However, after thinking about it, I seemed to find it so difficult to convince the two of them, and his tone suddenly softened a little. If you must not stop fighting, I don't have to stand in the way, but there is one thing you must agree to. Otherwise, even if I ask the teacher to stop it, I will never let you fight again. Let me tell you, brother, Yuanshi and Tongshan didn't understand what lazy meant. You can fight with each other, but you two cannot fight directly. It is up to Zhujiao and Chanjiao to compete with each other. If whose sect wins, how about the losing party admitting its fault, handing over the destiny of the sect to the victor, and no more fighting from now on? I proposed a compromise plan, which was also his last resort. Although it would damage the strength of Xuanmin by letting the disciples fight, it would be much better than two saints fighting endlessly. Otherwise, no matter which side is killed, I will have a huge headache. This Tongshan and Yuanshi couldn't help but hesitate. Although they are not like this, no one of them can do whatever they want when I stand in front of him. I have already made a concession. If they are still stubborn, I am afraid they will completely anger me. Just as Big Brother said, I will follow Big Brother's arrangements. Me too. Tongshan was the first to express his position, and Yuanshi had to agree. If the battle is won, it would be great to gain the luck of the other sect. At this point, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although the Xuanmin is still fighting within, at least it is still under control. Guilty. As for what happens next, we can only take it one step at a time. After the battle in Sanqing realm, the war between Chanjiao and Zhijiao, which had subsided for thousands of years after the self-proclaimed gods measured calamity, broke out again. Although the two religions did not declare war on each other, the successive confrontations caused great disturbances in the ancient world, and the conflict between the two religions became a common knowledge in the ancient world. It's just that this time, the purpose of intercepting the teaching and explaining the teaching is no longer to compete for the dynasty of the human race, but purely to destroy their religion and murder their disciples. In this way, Jiyin is very happy. As long as the fight between the three Taoist religions continues, he can take the opportunity to penetrate into the East, gradually attract more disciples, and spread Buddhism more widely. For a time, the fortunes of Taoism and Buddhism, which were already equal, were gradually shifting towards Buddhism. Chapter 278. I am naturally aware of the subtle changes in destiny, and I have noticed all the trends in Western religions, but now that there are so many contradictions in the three purities, he can't even think about it. Before the calamity begins, I hope Yuanshi and Tongshan can wake up, otherwise God will help Buddhism. Heaven. At this time, Emperor Hashan looked at the Zhijiao and Chanjiao who were constantly fighting in the wilderness, frowning and looking solemn. Now that the calamity has not even begun, Xuanmin is so eager to kill, Isn't it giving up the opportunity to Buddhism? Nowadays Buddhism is in full swing. The great Emperor Hashan sighed heavily and couldn't bear it. All the immortals were also worried, and then one of the immortals asked, "Since I can't stop them as immortals, can you ask Zhu Long to take action and stop them forcibly?" Zhu Long? When Emperor Hashan heard this, he gave a bitter smile and shook his head repeatedly. Now Xuanmen owes him a lot of karma to Shen Long. If Shen Long doesn't mobilize Xuanmen to listen to his orders, it would be good. How can they get Shen Long to take action? What's more, Taoism and Buddhism are determined to win the calamity, and the Dragon Clan is also very interested in the supreme merit of calamity. For today's plan, Heavenly Court will keep a low profile for the time being and preserve Taoism's strength as much as possible. Otherwise, Buddhism and Heavenly Court will fight hard and we will be unable to withstand it. The Emperor Hashan could only choose a rather conservative method, and he had no choice but to yes. All the immortals are unwilling, but that's all they can do. I'm afraid this is the fate of Buddhism. It is destined that Buddhism will rise. At the same time, the boundless world ding. Congratulations to the members of the Dragon Clan for breaking through 570 million and receiving a reward of plus 99,999 billion evolution points. Ding. Congratulations to the members of the Dragon Clan for breaking through 580 million. You will be rewarded with plus 99,999 billion evolution points, as well as the innate treasure of the immortal killing axe. During the period of the Battle of Xuanmen and the expansion of Buddhism, the population of the Dragon Clan was still growing at an alarming rate, allowing Shen Long to gain a large amount of evolution points. However, what concerned Shen Long the most was that Buddhism was spreading its religion so fast that it had spread to all the races and human nations around the world. Although this action seemed ordinary, Shen Long immediately noticed that Ji Yin had the intention to expand Buddhism into the Dragon Clan. The power of the Dragon Clan is obvious to all the clans. The total number of saints in the prehistoric era accounts for nearly half, and the number of quasi-sages in the clan is even more frightening. Obviously, the introduction was to prepare for Buddhism to spread to the Dragon Clan, and at the same time, it also meant to test Shen Long. It seems that Ji Yin is somewhat unscrupulous in order to strengthen Buddhism. Shen Long narrowed his eyes slightly and sneered. I wonder if it was because the development of Buddhism was too smooth, which gave Ji Yin the idea of doing whatever he wanted, so that he dared to reach out to the Dragon Clan. Shen Long has grown the Dragon Clan's base to this day. It is definitely not to make fighting clothes for Taoism or Buddhism. There are too many things to think about. Zilong, go and clean up the Buddhist missionaries around Wu Liangxihai. Wu Liangxihai is not something they can touch easily. They should teach Li Ying a lesson. Shen Long called Zhu Long and gave him an order. Don't worry, brother. Starting from tomorrow, there will be no more Buddhist missionaries around Wu Liangxihai. I personally expel those fools and let them dream less. Zilong has long disliked Buddhism. Now that there is Shen Long's decree, he is naturally very excited. Chapter 279. If the Buddhists dare to be even tougher, there is no need to be polite to them. They will be killed when they need to be killed, and Ji Yin will not dare to come forward. Shen Long sneered. Isn't Ji Yin testing his attitude? In that case, he will teach Ji Yin a lesson and let him understand it completely. A moment after Zilong left, the queen hurried to the Longding Hall again. I saw her face was full of worry. Husband, you should already know about the internal fighting among Xuanmen. After this, will Xuanmen lose to Buddhism in a calamity? Nuwa is very worried. After all, Sanqing is her senior brother, and I am the leader of the human religion. Compared with being a disciple of Hongjun Daozu, she naturally does not want us to start a trend. Don't worry, even if Buddhism rises, it will be just a flash in the pan, far less powerful than what all sentient beings have seen. Shen Long obviously doesn't take Buddhism seriously, at least he is far from being a threat. But Buddhism has blossomed everywhere in the West, and even in the East. The sorrow in Nuwa's heart still couldn't dissipate. Husband, in your opinion, in the battle between Buddhism and Taoism, which side has a greater chance of winning? No matter which side they are, they will not be the ultimate winners of this calamity. Shen Long's answer was beyond Nuwa's expectation. Shen Long looked calm and said in a deep voice, Buddhism and Xuanmen both thought that their biggest opponent in this calamity was the other side, but they never thought that the Dragon Clan, as the largest clan in the world, will they participate. Nuwa was greatly shocked when Shen Long said this. He was undoubtedly revealing to himself that Shen Long had the intention to intervene in this calamity. Even more than just interfering, he also wanted to become the final winner from this calamity. Husband, is this really the case? Nuwa couldn't help but be excited. If Shen Long was interested, she would definitely help him. Since the early tribulation of the Long Han dynasty, the great races of the ancient world have fallen one by one. After the fall of the demon race, the only race that is still prosperous is the dragon race. Buddhism and Xuanmen are determined to compete for the Great Road, so naturally this emperor is also interested. The Great Tao has never just belonged to one sect, but after the competition, the winner will be the winner. Journey to the West will be the last calamity in the prehistoric world. After this calamity, the forces of the prehistoric world will be basically stable and difficult to change. The way of heaven will also enter a gentle development and will no longer cause calamity. Shen Long will not only win the calamity he wanted to make the Dragon Clan become an absolutely powerful force in the ancient world and suppress Xuanmen and Buddhism. Shen Long's words clearly revealed his intentions. At this point, Nuwa also understood why Shen Long was against that Lingming Stone Monkey is so interested. It turns out that he has already started planning all this. Husband, the great cause of the Dragon Clan will surely be accomplished. After a moment, Nuwa looked determined. In this way, Nuwa no longer has to worry about Xuanmen. After all, everything is insignificant compared with Shen Long. Shen Long looked at the ancient astrolabe in front of him. At this time, the astrolabe and the image, the disciples of Jijiao and Chanjiao are fighting in full swing. I'm afraid it won't be long before Buddhism takes action, and this war will be difficult to last. Shen Long said to himself. Just as Shen Long expected, the war between Chanjiao and Jijiao had only lasted for a few years, and his disciples became bored and did not want to fight anymore. The battle of conferring gods and measuring tribulation has been brutal enough. But now that Buddhism is watching eagerly from the side, there is no point in continuing the fight. Chapter 280. Now only Yuan Shai and Tongshan are extremely enthusiastic about this war. Naturally, Jiyan would not let go of this great opportunity. Just when the two major sects were feeling war weary, Jiyan lost no time in sending message talismans to the chief disciples of the two sects, Randeng and Duobao, and invited Ling Shan for an appointment. I have a way to stop the fight between Jijiao and Chanjiao. After the two chief disciples received the communication talisman at the same time, Randeng hesitated for a while and then agreed to meet. But Taoist Duobao didn't take Jiyan's words seriously at all and just ignored them. A year later, Ling Shan. At this time, Randeng was sitting opposite Jiyan on the lotus platform of Lian Temple in Ling Shan. Buddha, is it really what you said? If we join Buddhism, will we be given the fruition status? Randeng looked a little expectant. When he arrived at Lian Temple, Jiyan generously offered a very high price, which immediately made his heart beat. That was one of the three Buddhas in Buddhism. And this kind of status is absolutely impossible for him to obtain in the teaching. If Buddhism can really reach an equal footing with Taoism in the future, its status will be almost equivalent to that of his teacher Yuan Shai. How can he not be tempted? It will not only give you the Buddhahood, but also give all the disciples who join Buddhism with you the Bodhisattva and Arhat status, which is definitely far more than what you get from teaching, Jiyan said with a faint smile. At this time, he could already see that Randeng was really interested. After all, Buddhism is no longer the shaky Western religion it was at the beginning. Anyone can see that Buddhism has great potential in the future. Randeng can't find it at all. Give up any reason to refuse the invitation. Buddha, if it is true as you say, I am willing to join Buddhism. At this moment, Randeng finally made up his mind to meet and greet him on the lotus platform. In the east, there is a Taoist temple somewhere in the Jiujiao. At this time, countless disciples from the Jijiao gathered here, hurriedly cultivating and recovering to prepare for the next war. Although Duobao, including most of the 12 golden immortals, are extremely disgusted with this war, they have to obey Tongshan's order. But at this moment, the color of the sky suddenly changed, a thick haze shrouded the sky, and a huge aura followed, frightening the countless cultivating disciples in the Taoist temple. Not good. Could it be that Uncle Yuanchai took action himself? Even Duo Bao was frightened by it. This huge aura undoubtedly came from the saint. However, this idea was quickly denied by him, because this aura was completely different from Yuanchai. To be precise, it was even more powerful than Yuanchai. Just when the Jijiao disciples were panicking, the huge pressure suddenly dissipated. Instead, in the sky not far away, a saint covered in light golden Buddha dust was looking at them from a distance. This saint is the Buddhist Jinian. Duo Bao immediately became alert. He originally thought that the person who came to Jinian was not good, but after waiting for a long time, Jinian did not attack them. Duo Bao was about to send out a messenger talisman to ask Tongshan to come to help them, but Jinian was the first to send a message to him. Duo Bao, don't misunderstand me. I don't want to make things difficult for you. I just want to have a good chat with you. After the chat, I will leave, okay? The voice of the receptionist was very calm, without a hint of hostility. Of course, if the receptionist was hostile, he would have attacked himself long ago, so why delay it until now? Chapter 281. Senior brother, be careful, I'm afraid you may have evil intentions. Obviously, Mr. Zhao was very distrustful of Buddhism and couldn't help but remind him, let me go and take a look first, otherwise, it will be easy for Jiyan to attack us. Taoist Duo Bao hesitated for a moment, and then flew up to the sky to meet and greet him in person. The disciples of the Jijiao sect are indeed many talented, but unfortunately, the Xuanmen is constantly fighting within the Xuanmen. I don't know how many disciples in the Xuanmen will die tragically at the hands of their fellow disciples. Jiyan still had a kind smile on his face, but these words hit exactly what Duo Bao was thinking. Introducing the Buddha is a Taoist matter and you don't need to worry about it. Duo Bao's expression changed slightly and he responded in a deep voice, the most important thing in Buddhism is to save others. Nowadays, among those in the sect, I am afraid that many disciples are tired of fighting and do not want to continue fighting among themselves, right? The voice that followed was full of bewitching. If this is really the case, Pine Dao should have a way to help everyone in Jijiao get out of this difficulty. What does the quote from the Buddha mean? How can we help? Duo Bao was full of doubts. It's very simple. When the disciples of Jijiao enter my Buddhist sect, live in Lingshan, and leave the Taoist sect, they will be protected by my Buddhist Dharma and will no longer be trapped by the internal fighting of the Taoist sect. As a result, I don't know how many disciples of the Ji cult can escape this catastrophe. There is no greater good. Ji Yun smiled lightly, but his words made Duo Bao even more vigilant. It turns out that the purpose of attracting the Buddha's thoughts is to strengthen his own Buddhism. Although we, the disciples of the Jijiao sect, are tired of war, we still follow our teacher's lead and will never commit any apostasy. Duo Bao refused in a deep voice. It was really hard for him to accept what Ji Yin said. You are right. How can the sect betray you easily? But have you ever thought about when the war between Tongshan and Yuanchai will stop? If they continue to hate each other, the internal fighting among Xuanmen will never end, and I don't know how many disciples will be killed or injured in Jijiao. The reception didn't seem surprising. He had obviously expected this and followed the guidance. Duo Bao couldn't help but remain silent. This was already obvious. What's more, joining Buddhism and avoiding war is not just your decision. Ji Yin saw the hesitation in Duo Bao's heart, and slowly opened his palm, but a green lotus slowly bloomed in his palm, revealing the image of the burning lamp. Randeng has actually taken refuge in Buddhism? Seeing this scene, Duo Bao was immediately horrified. This is not out of selfish desire, but to protect the disciples from killing each other. In my Buddhist sect, there are 3 great attainment levels: past Buddha, present Buddha, and future Buddha. If you are willing to enter Buddhism, the attainment stage of the present Buddha will be given to you, and the disciples accompanying you can also attain the attainment stage of Bodhisattva and Arhat. Ji Yin put away the green lotus and formally made an offer to Duo Bao, but all the achievements he gave were better than the former sect status of Jijiao disciples. Duo Bao was entangled in his heart, even though he didn't want to apostatize, but after successive battles, Numerous disciples of the Ji sect had been killed and injured. As Ji Yin said, this was the only way to save his disciples. I can lead Ji Zhao disciples into Buddhism. Please lead the Buddha to keep his promise. Duo Bao gritted his teeth and simply agreed to the matter. There is no great kindness. Not only will the fruition status be fulfilled in full, all disciples will be protected by Buddhism and will no longer be troubled by disputes. Ji Yin couldn't help but laugh out loud. Chapter 282. Duo Bao and Randing are both the most outstanding chief disciples in Xuanmen. Now their cultivation is at the pinnacle of quasi-sage, and they have the possibility of breakthrough at any time, but they lack the opportunity for merit. If they are introduced into Buddhism and grow into saints, Buddhism will also have 3 saints, and the potential of Buddhism in the future will definitely be no less than that of Taoism. However, if I am to be introduced to the Buddha, even if I enter Buddhism, there is one condition that the Buddha must agree to. Duo Bao obviously still had concerns. Ji Yin smiled lightly and said, haha, but it doesn't matter. After my disciples enter Buddhism, if there is a battle between Taoism and Buddhism in the future, we will never fight against the Ji Zhao disciples, let alone our former teacher Tongshan. And before the calamity tribulation begins, if the Chan Zhao continues to embarrass the disciples of the Ji Zhao, Buddhism must take action to help the Ji Zhao disciples to rescue them. After all, his master came from Tongshan, and he was highly appreciated by Tongshan at the beginning, and his status in the sect was extremely high. If it weren't for the internal fighting in Xuanmen and Duo Bao wanting to save the lives of more disciples, he would never have joined Buddhism. The kindness of teaching should be repaid with a spring of water. There is no greater good. Just don't worry. Pine Dao won't embarrass you. For Ji Yin, this is really not a problem. Although the battle between Xuanmen and Buddhism is absolutely impossible to avoid, he only needs to let the forces under Randang fight against Ji Zhao, and let Duo Bao fight against Chan Zhao. So the problem is solved. Even if they find it difficult to attack the original sect, facing the opposing sects that have been fighting endlessly, they are absolute feuds and will definitely kill each other. In any case, Buddhism has finally emerged from the first stage of construction. Only after the first step and the formation of the system of the 3 Buddhas can Buddhism truly have the ability to compete with Taoism. After Ji Yin left, Duo Bao did not break his promise and immediately returned to Ji Zhao to gather all his disciples and inform them of his devotion to Buddhism. It is conceivable that when all the disciples of Ji Zhao learned about this, they were like a pot exploding, and they all questioned and objected. Senior brother, you see, after we enter Buddhism, don't we want to kill our former fellow disciples and brothers? Ji Yin's nice words are just for his Buddhism. If Buddhism and Taoism are really fighting to the death, we will still have to fight against Ji Zhao. It is difficult for us to betray the sect. Everyone, senior brother is not forcing you, but in order to preserve Ji Zhao, senior brother must join Buddhism. As for you and others, you can choose not to join, and Buddha Ji Ying also agrees that before the start of the calamity, you will all be protected by Buddhism and no longer have to fight with the teachings. Facing many disciples, although Duo Bao was helpless, he had no choice. As soon as he said this, most of the disciples bowed their heads and remained silent. Only a few disciples were still stubborn. They also knew that if they wanted to save Ji, some of the disciples taught by him can only do this. Senior brother, please forgive me. Junior brother, I'm afraid I won't be able to help you this time. Zhao Gongmin was silent for a long time, then sighed heavily and left immediately. Behind Zhao Gongmin, many disciples who were unwilling to join Buddhism followed closely, and most of them left. In the end, only a few disciples were left who were willing to join Duo Bao. Together, in the end, Duo Bao could only take these disciples who were willing to follow him and rush to Xiangxi Lingshan to fulfill his promise to lead. Chapter 283. But he paid close attention to Duo Bao's every move and didn't care about it. The only thing that is really valuable to him and Ji Zhao is Duo Bao. I don't know how Yuan Shai and Tongshan will view my attempt to drain the fire. Hey, Ji Yin smiled proudly. Just as promised by Randeng and Duo Bao, they arrived at Lingshan with their disciples at the same time and swore to Lingshan to quit the Taoist sect and join Buddhism. Just as he promised, Jiyin gave the past Buddha status among the three Buddhas of Shimen to Randan, and the name of the Buddha was the ancient Buddha of Randan. And Duobao gave him the status of Buddha in this world, and changed his name to Duobao as Tathagata, which is Tathagata Buddha. Since then, the status of the three Buddhas in Buddhism has settled, and the three Buddhas have returned to their thrones, which has greatly increased the luck of Buddhism and even benefited the entire West. All the creatures in the West were surprised to see that the barren land of the West had begun to regain its spiritual veins. Although it was far from the abundant spiritual energy of the East, to the West it was definitely no less than the rain after a long drought. This surge in luck not only benefited the West, but when Duobao and Randan achieved Buddhahood, their cultivation also greatly increased. Not only did they break through the realm of saints that they had longed for, they also cultivated. Why is it still rising sharply? The two saints broke through at the same time. This kind of vision was absolutely rare in the ancient world, and even the way of heaven was greatly affected by it. In an instant, the sky changed drastically, and the sun and moon were juxtaposed in the sky, accompanied by countless twinkling stars. On the earth, spiritual power has skyrocketed, and countless races are frantically devouring spiritual power and competing for new spiritual land. At the same time, Tandao also incorporated the soul marks of Randan and Duobao, leaving them with the status of Tandao saints. Of course, what Randan and Duobao didn't know was that when their soul marks were injected into Tandao, Tandao was already devouring their soul marks to advance. Duobao and Randan are both the most outstanding chief disciples in Xuanmen. Now their cultivation is at the pinnacle of quasi-sage, and they have the possibility of breakthrough at any time, but they lack the opportunity for merit. If they are introduced into Buddhism and grow into saints, Buddhism will also have three saints, and the potential of Buddhism in the future will definitely be no less than that of Taoism. Just after Randan and Duobao became saints, Jiyin hesitated when canonizing the disciples of their respective sects. Even though both Randan and Duobao have become Buddhas, the resentment they had before becoming Buddhas still exists, and there will definitely be open and covert fights. If their forces cannot be evenly checked and balanced when canonizing their forces, I am afraid that the powerful party will be tempted by the weak party, and eventually Buddhism will stage an internal fight like Taoism. After some consideration, the decision was made to confer bodhisattva status mostly to disciples of the original Chan sect, such as Manjusri, Samantebhajura, Sahang, etc. They occupied the most bodhisattva status, while only a few disciples of the Ji sect occupied the most, granted fruition status, and most of them were canonized arhats. But in contrast, Jiyin handed over most of the power in Buddhism to Duobao, making him responsible for opening altars to preach and expand the power of Buddhism, while Randan only gave some insignificant powers. In this way, the strength of the two parties checks and balances each other. You have me, and I have you, and no one can dominate one side. Not only that, Jiyin unified all the sects in Buddhism and unified them into Buddhism. Chapter 284. In this way, Buddhism is not like Taoism, where three religions coexist, and one family is the only one. This also eliminates the possibility of internal strife in Buddhism. The foundation of Buddhism is based on Buddhism and enlightenment. There is no need to find another way, and there is no heresy. Only the enlightened can become a Buddha and realize the Great Way. From now on, Buddhism will only have the Buddhism school, and the other independent branches are all heresies, and Buddhist disciples should eradicate them. No indulgence. Above Lian Temple, the sound of guidance echoed in the sky for a long time, and all the Buddhists worshipped devoutly. Obey the Buddha. These many Buddhist disciples can't see through it, but Randan and Duobao know the purpose of receiving the invitation. Duobao, from now on you and I are also students of the same religion. I never thought that you and I would be where we are today. Randan looked at Duobao meaningfully. However, it seems more appropriate to call you Tathagata from now on. The calamity is imminent. Don't forget to follow what the Buddha told you. Disciples of Xuanmen Jiji, you can't move. Duobao responded coldly. Just take care of yourself. Remember that you are now a Tathagata in Buddhism, and Jijiao has nothing to do with you now. After Randan left these words, he walked away. Some families are happy and some are sad. Just when the three Buddhas of Buddhism have returned to their thrones and their fortunes are skyrocketing, Xuanmen far to the east suddenly causes an uproar. Tongshan unexpectedly learned that their most popular disciple had led a large number of disciples to apostatize and join Buddhism. As for the two saints who appeared in Buddhism, no need to think too much, they must be Randang and Duobao. They broke through the realm of saints with the help of Buddhism's luck. Yuanshai's losses were even more severe. Not only did he lose the foundation of the future sect, Randang, but even Taoist Manjusri, Samantebhajura, Fearful Sun, and Sahang among the 12 golden immortals also left the sect, causing the sect's strength to suffer far more damage than just before. As a result, Chan Zhao and Ji Zhao could no longer continue fighting. This life and death battle actually came to a halt in this way. Too clear. I stared at Ji Yin and Tongtian with a gloomy expression. The two of them had no face at all to look directly at me. I tried to persuade you both, but how could you ever listen to me? Turn a deaf ear to all my words and ignore them. It's good now. Most of the core disciples of the sect have rebelled against the sect. Our Xuanmen strength has been greatly damaged. How will we compete with Buddhism in the next 2 quarters? I can say that I have cursed out all the anger accumulated in my heart, but the matter has come to this, and it is meaningless no matter how much he curses. Those who betray the sect should be killed. Yuanshi gritted his teeth, his eyes full of anger. Brother, leave this matter to me, I will definitely clean up the house. Having said that, the fiery Yuanshi didn't wait for a moment and immediately went to the west to find Ji Yin to settle the score. Snort. The two of us attacked and led together. He was no match. How could Tongshan tolerate such anger? He followed immediately, before I even had a chance to persuade him. Well, I sighed heavily. When Xuanmen was founded, although I knew that Xuanmen would not be able to prosper forever, I never expected that it would decline due to internal fighting. At the same time, after Shen Long learned the news, he became even more certain that a war between Buddhism and Xuanmen was absolutely unavoidable. Ji Ying took a step back and poached all the 2 rising stars of Xuanmen, and even allowed them to become saints, which directly touched the bottom line of Xuanmen. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 285. How can Tongshan and Yuanshi be characters who can suffer losses in vain and just give up? The battle between Buddhism and Taoism is so fierce that they may collide and advance and accelerate the arrival of calamity. It is unknown. In this case, I should be well prepared. Shen Long immediately set off for the human race in the east, and at the same time ordered Kong Zhuan to come here. According to the Buddhist plan, one of Tathagata's favorite disciples will join the mortal world and transform into the destined scripture collector Tang Xuan Zhang Go to obtain scriptures, spread Buddhism to the east, and naturally conquer Sun Wukong. This is the second key point of the great cause of obtaining scriptures, and Shen Long also decided to make plans based on this. At this moment, a colorful stream of light broke through the sky, falling in the sky like a meteor, landing in front of Shen Long. Meet the teacher. The colorful light dispersed, and Kong Zhuan appeared in front of Shen Long and immediately paid homage to Shen Long. The calamity tribulation is about to begin, and I need you to transform into an external incarnation and wait here for more than 500 years until the key figure of the calamity tribulation arranged by Buddhism arrives, and you will personally extradite him. Shen Long ordered. I obey, but I don't know how the teacher plans to ask me to extradite him. Although Kong Zhuan didn't know about Buddhism's plan and what would happen 500 years later, since this was an order from Shen Long, he didn't have any doubts and agreed. This person will definitely convert to Buddhism in the future, and will take it as his own responsibility to spread Buddhism eastward. You only need to plant a belief in his heart, a belief in questioning Buddhism, and gradually guide this belief to become deeply rooted and grow. Shen Long said meaningfully. So, disciple understands. Needless to say, Kong Zhuan naturally knew what to do. Kong Zhuan did not wait for 500 years, but directly branched out and transformed into a boatman to steer the river here to prepare for the future. When the time comes, consider this a surprise for Ji Yin. Shen Long looked at the incarnation of Kong Zhuan ferrying by the river and said with a faint smile, "The so-called great cause of learning the Buddhist scriptures, its real core is Sun Wukong and Tang Xuanzang. As long as Shen Long shakes these two, the so-called great cause of learning the Buddhist scriptures will be completely in vain." Just when Shen Long was about to leave, outside the boundless space passage, there was a tumbling demon karma accumulating. Without thinking too much, Shen Long immediately knew that this must be the work of those chaotic demon gods. "It seems like these idiots also want to join in the fun," Shen Long sneered, and then he returned to Wu Liangsi to see what the hell those chaos demon gods were doing. If these chaos demon gods were restless, he wouldn't mind taking the initiative to make these chaos demon gods experience the experience of being chased away by Pang Wu again, the fear of annihilation. Just when Shen Long passed through the space passage and arrived outside the chaos demon gods entrenched outside the passage felt that something was wrong. Before Shen Long arrived, they fled one after another. When they arrived, all signs left by the chaos demon gods had disappeared. "Hide your head and show your tail." These methods of the chaos demon god were not enough to deceive Shen Long. He supplemented it with the eyes of truth, and his pupils suddenly turned golden yellow, instantly seeing through everything hidden in the chaos. "I saw that under the strong aura of the demon god, it actually hides a huge magic circle that envelops hundreds of Death Stars. This magic circle is so huge that it far exceeds the top 10 magic circles in the ancient world." Chapter 286. The karma rising and rolling in the magic circle is almost unbelievably rich. If a saint accidentally enters this magic circle and is trapped, within just 100 years, he will be eroded by the karma in this magic circle. God, finally transformed into a dead body. One can imagine how much power of the chaos demon god must be gathered to form this array. Shen Long's ability to sense formations is extremely strong. In fact, even Tongshan can't compare with Shen Long. However, this formation arranged by the chaos demon god is all the methods of the chaos demon god, and it is extremely difficult to understand. Endless demon god. Shen Long used his life soul to transmit the message, and the endless demon god in the prehistoric world suddenly trembled and hurried to chaos. "Meet the master." The endless demon god quickly paid homage to Shen Long. "I wonder what the master's instructions are. Please tell me, what kind of formation is this?" Shen Long showed the formation seen through the eye of truth to the endless demon god for review. However, when the endless demon god saw the prototype of the formation, he suddenly exclaimed, "Demonic calamity formation." This formation requires 1,378 chaos demon gods to deploy at the same time and inject the demon god's karma before it can be deployed. If it is activated, at least 1,000 demon gods will be needed to fully exert its power. This demonic calamity formation was jointly developed by the 3 great demon gods of chaos. It uses the core of the Death Star as its energy supply and is guided by thousands of demon gods. It is extremely powerful. However, because the 3 major factions of demon gods are not concentric, this formation has only been completely deployed once. The endless demon god informed Shen Long of all the information he knew about the demonic tribulation formation. "It sounds interesting," Shen Long thought thoughtfully. "How powerful is this formation?" "Power." The endless demon god pondered for a moment, and a trace of imperceptible fear flashed in his eyes. The only time this formation was activated, it exhausted the cores of 270 Death Stars. Its power instantly penetrated the space barrier and penetrated a gateway to another world. Then, because the 3 demon gods were worried about whether there was a powerful existence in the other world, they sealed the space passage. From then on, the demonic calamity formation has not been activated again. Break through the space barrier. When Shen Long heard this, his heart couldn't help but move. He could already guess what the chaos demon god intended by setting up this formation outside the ancient space passage. "Endless demon god, from now on you don't have to return to the primitive world. You return to chaos. Monitor every move of the demon god. and inform the emperor through your life soul at all times, without any mistakes." Yes, the endless demon god immediately accepted the order, and his body flickered, turning into a dark red stream of light and disappearing into chaos. Fortunately, Shen Long had not revealed that the endless demon god was controlled by him before, and it was naturally impossible for those chaos demon gods to know about it. His soul is controlled by Shen Long. As for this demonic calamity formation, Shen Long looked at the huge and vast formation, and when he was thinking about how to deal with it, he suddenly felt a huge vibration in the ancient heaven. In the ancient times, there were actually saints fighting with each other, and there were 3 saints at that. Shen Long didn't even need to guess, he knew who these 3 saints were. Forget it, let's leave the demon tribulation formation for now, maybe it can be used to counter the chaos demon god in the future. Shen Long decided to return to the primitive world first. After leaving an almost imperceptible mark of divine consciousness in the formation, he left through the space passage. Chapter 287. Just after Shen Long left, the chaos demon god who was scared away by Shen Long finally dared to return and looked at the magic circle in fear. When they saw that the magic circle was not damaged, they were all very happy, and at the same time they also had a little contempt for Shen Long. From this point of view, Zhu Long is not omnipotent, and this kind of blinding method can confuse him. When the calamity tribulation begins, the plans of the demon gods and I will be realized as scheduled. There is no need to worry too much about the Zhu Long. At the same moment, in the Wild West, Ling Shan, Tongshan and Yuan Shai were so angry that they went to Ling Shan to kill him. At this point they could no longer care about their hatred for each other. "The only thing I want to do is to clean up the door and make Buddhism pay the price. Take the lead, you guys who are deceiving the world and stealing your reputation. Get out of here as soon as possible. What's the use of hiding in this mere spiritual mountain of yours? If you can't satisfy me, your Buddhist sect and this spiritual mountain will all turn into powder today." The 2 saints were so murderous that the peace that had shrouded Ling Shan for a long time since the founding of Buddhism was instantly washed away. Countless disciples on Ling Shan were trembling in shock. The auras of the 2 10th-level saints were unreserved. It burst out. How could these ordinary Buddhist disciples withstand this kind of momentum? Yuan Shai's eyes glanced coldly up and down Ling Shan mountain, until finally, his eyes were locked on the temple on the top of Ling Shan mountain. Because of the 12-level merits, the potency of the golden lotus, the luck above the zenith is churning along with the golden Buddha dust, and is continuously absorbed by it. I will let this Lian temple be destroyed today. The Pangu flag jumped out of his hand, and the flags and flags hunted, transforming into countless light blades surrounding them, and then they struck through the air like a violent storm, one after another. I saw the light blade passing by. The space trembled, and the cloud shattered. Under the rage, Yuan Shai showed no mercy when he took action, purely with the intention of completely destroying Ling Shan. However, at this moment, a halo golden lotus suddenly appeared on Ling Shan. As the golden lotus unfolded, the entire Ling Shan was covered and protected. Boom! Every time a light blade strikes the golden lotus, a lotus leaf is shattered, and the aftermath of the explosion stirs up waves of violent wind pressure, turning into a tornado that rages around the Ling Shan mountain. Under this violent wind pressure, only Ling Shan, which was protected by the huge golden lotus, could survive. But outside Ling Shan, the mountains collapsed and the ground cracked under this power. "Open it to me." Yuan Shai didn't expect that the golden lotus could actually withstand the bombardment of the Pangu flag. In anger, he directly used the Pangu flag's body to fly through the sky. A wind blade capable of destroying all things cut through the sky and struck heavily on it. Boom! 2 majestic energies collided, and the power of the wind blade poured out without reservation, causing an explosion that could shake the entire Ling Shan mountain in an instant, covering the sky and the sun. Boom! At this moment, the sound of breaking porcelain resounded through the sky, and the huge golden light lotus finally cracked and completely shattered. Although the wind blade was also shattered, and the power was completely offset, the violent wind pressure rolled up by the remaining power, but it was wreaking havoc in this spiritual mountain, destroying countless temples to pieces, and all the Buddhist disciples fled in fear. "Yuan Shai, you dare!" A voice full of anger echoed in the sky for a long time, and the wind pressure that was raging in Lingshan slowly calmed down at this moment. Chapter 288. Who else can neutralize the saint's blow like this? The two fellow Taoists just came here uninvited. Why do they want to take action without asking and indiscriminately intending to destroy my Lingshan foundation? The golden Buddha light flashed in the sky, and Ji Yin appeared in this light, staring at Yuan Shi and Tongtian with a gloomy expression. Yuan Shi's blow just now, if he hadn't blocked it in time, and used the 12-grade golden lotus of merit defense, I am afraid that many Buddhas will die on this Lingshan mountain. Ji Yin, stop pretending to be stupid here. You know better than anyone why the two of us went to Lingshan. Tongtian sneered, very disdainful of Ji Yin's attitude. Humphrey, it turns out that you are here because of the Tathagata Buddha and the ancient Buddha of lighting lights. Ji Yin looked very dissatisfied. They have admired my Buddhism for a long time. Now I just give them a chance to become a saint and become a Buddha. What's wrong with that? What's more, in such a vast country, it is very common to change the sect depending on the sect. What nonsense! Talking about saving others and saving yourself, being compassionate, are all lies, and are just for the benefit of Buddhism to deceive others. Do you really think that I don't know why Ji Yin and Randeng joined Buddhism? Tongtian was so angry that he laughed. He didn't expect that Ji Yin would distort the facts so plausibly, since the two of you also know that Luo Hu and Randeng joined Buddhism because of internal fighting within Taoism. You don't think about correcting your mistakes, but you think it's the poor Taoist who is hindering them? Really ridiculous. After being exposed like this by Tongtian, Ji Yin simply stopped being sanctimonious. Few words. Let Randeng and all the disciples who have taken refuge in Chanjiao be handed over and let me personally punish you, otherwise I will destroy your spiritual mountain now. Yuan Shi was most annoyed. He had always been aloof and believed that his Chan religion was the mainstream of Taoism and the supreme Tao, but now even the deputy leader of Randeng has apostatized, which is a naked slap in his face. Even before Ji Yin could make any move, Yuan Shi had already charged Painu Banner with spiritual power and was ready for a battle at any time. Luo Hu and those rebels who took refuge in Buddhism will also be returned to me. The purple electric hammer appeared in Tongtian's hand, with murderous intent. At this moment, the 10th level aura of the two saints burst out without reservation, and they obviously wanted to fight to the death. Judging from the two of you, it seems that a fight to the death today is unavoidable. Ji Yin narrowed his eyes slightly and asked knowingly, Ji Yin, last time you were lucky and Wu Shen came to help you, but now, even Wu Shen doesn't dare to show up in the wilderness and act recklessly. No one can save you. Tongtian believes that if he and Yuan Shi attack at the same time, they will definitely lose. Today is much different than in the past. Even Western religion has now become Buddhism. Ji Yin has no intention of retreating at all. This seat will definitely make you regret it. Tongtian will activate the purple electric hammer, and the next thunder flashed in the sky, and under the pull of the purple electric hammer, it violently bombarded Ji Yin with the force of thunder. Yuan Shi was also unwilling to lag behind, and the Jidao Heavenly Spirit Pearl was activated and instantly turned into countless twinkling stars, falling down like a gust of wind and rain. At this moment, the sky changed color. The spiritual power of heaven and earth surged wildly, and two mountain-shattering and earth-shattering attacks attacked Ji Yin without any reservation. A saint on the 9th level is nothing to be afraid of. This was what Yuan Shi and Tongtian thought at the same time, believing that they could defeat Ji Yin with one blow. Chapter 289, Receive the Sky Tower. Ji Yin did not give in at all. Instead, he drew out his magic weapon, Ji Yin Danzu, and activated it to form a condensed barrier to withstand the two attacks. Boom! In an instant, the two huge waves of power bombarded it, but they did not tear the protective barrier apart as they imagined. Instead, they were blocked by them, making it difficult to move forward. Destroyed! Ji Yin shouted angrily, and immediately condensed the barrier to quickly offset its power, until it finally collapsed completely and exhausted its energy. Boom! At this moment, the attacks of Ji Yin and Yuan Shi were all neutralized, and even the remaining power was bounced back by Ji Yin. The ground was shattered by the bombardment, and the two were knocked back at the same time. Go! This blow was completely beyond Tongshan and Yuanshai's expectations. Tongshan even threw the purple electric hammer out desperately, intending to suppress it with overwhelming force and forcefully bombard the real body of the lead. However, the attack was still approaching, but was once again blocked by Jiyan's heavenly pillar and bounced back. Suddenly, Jiyan's aura was exposed without any cover-up, spreading across the world. Everything under Lingshan shivered when it came to life, and was suppressed by this aura. Almost unable to breathe 12 heavens of saints, Tongshan and Yuanshai's expressions instantly became dull, unbelievable. More than 100 years ago, when Tongshan and Jiyan fought, Jiyan's cultivation level was even slightly inferior to his, but now he is almost approaching the heavenly Tao realm. Merit comes to the world. I understand. Tongshan suddenly realized that it must be the luck brought by the founding of the sect that made his cultivation so rapid. How could this be so? Jiyan should not have been allowed to live to this day. Yuanshi's face was gloomy. He never imagined that Jiyan, whom he looked down upon the most at the beginning, would have a cultivation level far beyond his own. Two fellow Taoists, please leave now. For the sake of Tathagata and Randang's affection, I can stop caring about you, otherwise it will be you and me who will be defeated today. Under the aura, Jiyan's tone was arrogant, as if he was forgiving the two. However, this made Tongshan and Yuanshai even more angry. Nonsense! How could you offend Pang'u's power? Yuanshai was so furious that the Pang'u flag in his hand shone again. The long flag was fierce, and the sword light flashed. This time Yuanshai activated it with all his strength, and the sword light that burst out could cut almost every space rupture. The mountains are flattened. Die! The next moment, dozens or hundreds of sword lights came one after another, coming like a violent storm, engulfing Jiyan in an instant. Jiyan stepped back one after another, and the 12 great golden lotus of merit slowly unfolded under his feet, and the light golden lotus, the petals were flying in the air, and each petal blocked the incoming sword light. In an instant, the petals and sword light flashed in the sky, and the space was shattered inch by inch, like cracked porcelain. Although the Pang'u flag is powerful, however, Yuanshai's level of cultivation is much different than that of Jiyan, and the gap between the two heavens is almost insurmountable. Those flickering sword lights were gradually suppressed by the flying petals, and the 12th great golden lotus of merit and virtue that Jiyan sat down finally unfolded, causing a ray of golden light to shoot straight into the sky, pulling the way of heaven to change accordingly. Buddha comes to earth. Jiyan clasped his hands together, the clouds in the sky gradually cracked, and a dense golden mist fell, trapping Yuanshi and making it difficult to escape. Chapter 290. This so-called Buddha dust is a special product condensed by the magical method of heaven and Buddhism. Its nature is very important. If you are trapped in it, you will find it difficult to operate your spiritual power, and your true body will be as if it is being crushed by thousands of rocks. It was like being pressed down by heavy stones, making it almost impossible to move freely. Until the Buddha dust gradually accumulates, the person trapped in it will be suppressed by the Buddha dust and his true body will burst, and his soul will be destroyed. As expected, after Yuanshi was trapped in it, he immediately realized how terrifying this floating Buddha dust was. He only felt that it was difficult for the spiritual power in his body to operate. Even if he wanted to fly out of the Buddha dust, he felt as if a mountain of 10,000 feet was pressing on his body, making it almost impossible to move at all. I saw that the Buddha dust that fell inadvertently from Yuanshi's body seemed to be like falling meteorites when it fell to the ground, smashing the earth with holes. How could this be? Yuanshi only felt that the Pang'u flag in his hand became heavier and heavier, and the sword light that could be evolved gradually became scarce and weakened. Fellow Taoist Yuanshi, it's not that Pine Dao is aggressive, but that you are bent on seeking death. Pine Dao has to do this. An imperceptible killing intent flashed through Jiyan's eyes. If he could kill one of the three pure ones here, he would definitely win the future calamity battle. It's too early to be complacent now. You'd better take a look at your situation first. Suddenly, Tongshan's sneer sounded in his ears. Only then did Jiyan realize that a great formation of life and death had been arranged below him. He saw the death energy protruding out like tentacles, surrounding the 12th grade merit golden lotus, and his body is like a maggot attached to the bone that is difficult to drive away. The battle of life and death? Ji Yin slowly shook his head. If I were equal in strength to you, I might still be quite afraid. Do you think there is only one life and death formation? Tongshin laughed very proudly. The next moment, above Ji Yin's head, the 4 Zuxian swords condensed by spiritual power appeared, accompanied by dozens of flickering sword shadows. Double magic circle. This is far beyond Ji Yin's expectation. The double formation method can make 2 magic formations complement each other at the same time, doubling the power. However, it is extremely difficult to arrange double magic formations and consumes a lot of time. Under normal circumstances, it is almost impossible to completely arrange the double magic formations. Formation Master. But Tongshin obviously took advantage of the short time he had to suppress Yuan Shi and directly deployed 2 magic formations to surround himself. Start. Tongshin immediately activated 2 magic formations. The next moment, the sword shadows in the Zuxian sword formation kept flashing and piercing, accompanied by the billowing black energy in the life and death formation. They stabbed at Ji Yin one after another, instantly submerging him in the black death energy. The power of the 2 magic circles was increased to an unprecedented level at this moment, seemingly completely suppressing Ji Yin. Really good. Tongshin, help me escape quickly. Yuan Shi, who was trapped in the Buddha's dust, couldn't help but cheer loudly. At the same time, he also found that the Buddha's dust that suppressed him was gradually relaxing. I thought you were very capable, but in the end, a trace of Buddha dust suppressed you. Tongshin joked, although he was happy to see Yuan Shi suffer a loss. But now that there is a powerful enemy, internal strife must be put into consideration later. Yuan Shi's face was ashen and he did not answer. He used the purple electric hammer to bombard the Buddha dust, which was unexpected. Unexpectedly, the Buddha dust mist did not move at all. Tongshin and Yuan Shi were shocked, and even the internal and external attacks could only dissolve the Buddha dust at an extremely slow speed. What kind of method does this Buddha Chen use to be so difficult to deal with? Chapter 291. Yuan Shi was furious in his heart, and just when he was about to inspire Pang Banner to break through the Buddha dust again, the pressure and restraint of the Buddha dust suddenly increased, making him feel as suppressed by the mountains again. Buddha Lotus comes to the world. At this moment, the black death energy and the flickering sword shadow that had trapped Ji Yin were suddenly stabbed open in countless cracks, and the pale golden Buddha light burst out from the cracks, and in turn smashed the Ji Yin into pieces. Yin was still sitting on the 12th grade golden lotus, his aura rising sharply. The power of the 12th grade golden lotus sitting down burst out, destroying the immortal killing formation and the life and death formation at the same time. Tongshin could hardly believe what he saw before him. That double magic circle was broken so easily. The strongest method he could use failed to work. Boom! The terrifying power even spread unabated, causing the western land to collapse. The sky was torn apart, and many mountains collapsed. However, in this terrifying vision of heaven and earth, Ji Yin was sitting on the golden lotus of 12 grades of merit, with the Buddha's light all over his body, one finger pointing to the sky, and the other pointing to the earth. In heaven and on earth, I am the only one who is supreme, the Sanskrit chanted loudly. Both Yuan Shi and Tongshin were shocked, but they could still activate the spiritual treasures to protect themselves and block attacks. The saints in the 12th heaven are actually so powerful. Yuan Shi, Tongshin, even if you are killed here, don't blame Pine Dao, you are asking for it. Ji Yin stared down at the imprisoned 2, murderous intent burst out, and the Ji Yin orb also appeared above his head. The Buddha's seal appeared on the Ji Yin orb, and the spiritual power in the world was driven crazy by it. Absorb and prepare to kill both of them with one blow. Now that both of them have fallen into his hands, Ji Yin will never let them go easily and let them hinder him in future calamities. What's more, weakening Sanqing is also what he has always wanted to do most. Shameless talk. At this moment, Yuan Shi and Tongshin knew how powerful Ji Yin was, and they did not dare to have any confidence at the moment. They could only choose to join forces to fight Ji Yin. Although Ji Yin destroyed the double magic circle, his spiritual power was consumed too much. In the ensuing fight, They could no longer suppress it as before, but instead fell into an extremely stalemate. As a result, neither side could do anything to the other. A voice containing anger suddenly sounded in the sky, rang out. That was my voice. The murderous intention of Ji Yin became stronger, but Tongshan and Yuan Shai were fighting even more frantically. The battle situation gradually calmed down, and no one could do anything to the other. Pick up. Today's accounts will be settled tomorrow. Tongshan and Yuan Shai knew that there would be no results if they continued to fight, but with Lingshan as their back, the battle situation was actually more advantageous than theirs. As a last resort, the two had no choice but to leave. They were looked down upon by a man who used to look down upon them. The humble saint forced to draw, and the frustration this battle gave them was simply unimaginable. Yuan Shai and Ji Yin looked at each other, but they both sighed heavily. All the hatred and grievances before this, in the face of such when the enemy is strong, it becomes completely worthless. Pity. Ji Yin shook his head secretly. If he could take this opportunity to kill one of the three pure ones, he would have a great advantage in future battles of calamity. Ji Yin looked at Lingshan, looking at the Buddhist foundation that had not been affected much under his protection, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't want the Buddhism he finally established to suffer a heavy blow when it just emerged. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 292. At the same moment when Sanqing left Lingshan, there was an uproar in the wilderness. No powerful person thought that Ji Yin, who was suppressed by Xuanmen at the beginning, could now be even with the Sanqing dynasty. Emperor Hashan was even more troubled by this matter. The heavenly court itself was subordinate to Xuanmen. He did not want Buddhism to be on an equal footing with Xuanmen no matter what, not to mention that he had agreed to lead him and let Sun Wukong stage a havoc in the heavenly palace. Absurd play. We have just solved the demon clan's worries, but now Buddhism has become a problem again. Emperor Hashan frowned. He was really at his wit's end. However, if the Dragon Clan can be invited to help in the next calamity. Emperor Hashan suddenly had a bold idea. If Shen Long could stand on their side, Buddhism would not be afraid no matter how it developed. Although Emperor Hashan still doesn't know how to convince Shen Long, at least he is willing to try. Gather all the immortals to discuss matters together. Too clear. I looked at the two silent brothers with a gloomy face. After a while, he slowly said, "How about it? Are you sure you want to continue fighting each other to take advantage of Buddhism?" Unexpectedly, there are already 3 saints in Buddhism today, and it is difficult to suppress them. This happened because of my fight with Tongshan. Yuan Shai felt heartbroken when he thought of Duobao and Lantern, who had been sanctified. They are the rising stars who will support Xuanmen in the future. At the beginning, he knew clearly that Buddhism was rising and his luck was rising day by day, but he ignored the overall situation and fought to the death with Tongshan, which led to today's situation. Regret for biting your navel. It's too late. It's not too late. If you continue to fight with Tongshan, then we will not use this baptism of calamity to fight against Buddhism, and we can just hand over the East to Buddhism. I was finally relieved when I saw this, but I felt sad in my heart. Still worried about the lost fortune of Xuanmen. Wherever Yuan Shai and Tongshan had the face to refute me, they both lowered their heads in shame. Now, you two should know what to do. I glanced at the two of them and asked in a deep voice. Yuan Shai and Tongshan looked at each other and sighed, their hearts filled with guilt. We are born from the same roots. Why are we in such a hurry? All the grudges and entanglements before this, also let it go one after another, and the two finally shook hands and made peace. Third brother, it was my fault before this. If I hadn't been aggressive, I wouldn't be in this situation today. Yuan Shai actually apologized to Tongshan sincerely, his words full of regret. Second brother, I made a lot of mistakes before this. I should have apologized to you, but in the end it got to this point. I'm so ashamed. The hatred in Tongshan's heart immediately disintegrated. The two settled their old grudges and no longer cared about what happened before. At this point, As Tongshan and Yuanshai shook hands and made peace, Xuanmin's century-old internal struggle finally came to an end, and the calamity was being measured. It ended on the eve of the eve. A big stone in my heart also fell to the ground. It's okay to fight among the gods during the calamity, but now we are competing with Buddhism for the road, and there must be no mistakes. Now that you two have settled your differences, as the elder brother, I will let go of the previous matters. The most urgent task now is that Buddhism has become a phenomenon, and there are 3 saints sitting in charge at the same time, which should not be underestimated. My dark color is extremely dignified. Chapter 293. From now on, you immediately order the sect to stop all internal fighting, recruit as many disciples as possible, expand the strength of the sect, and prepare for calamity. Don't worry, brother, there's nothing wrong with this. Neither Yuanshai nor Tongshan have any objections to this. I stood up and came to the prehistoric astrolabe in the taking realm. I frowned and looked at all the directions of the prehistoric. On the prehistoric astrolabe, I made a little calculation and thought already know it. The calamity has begun. From this moment on, the prehistoric heavenly tribulation clouds gathered, and the huge heavenly merits appeared in the sky. All creatures in the prehistoric world were aware of the merits that came to the world at this moment. All living beings are interested in that merits are coveted, and everyone is eager to get them. Wu Shen, who was in the demon realm, rushed to the primitive world at the first moment, hoping to obtain merits. This merit must not be given away to anyone else. If you can get a lot of merit into your hands, the magic will flourish. Wu Shen thought in his mind. The guide on Lingshan also gave the order to send most of the disciples on Lingshan to the east to continue to expand the influence of Buddhism. Heavenly Court was also unwilling to lag behind, and countless immortals went down to the lower world to fight openly and secretly with Buddhism, even if it's one person and one demon who won't give even an inch. All forces are making intensive preparations, but the most powerful dragon clan in the ancient world is still calm. As usual, it still hasn't stepped out of the boundless world. In this way, all the powerful the readers were somewhat relieved. After all, the dragon clan was too powerful for them. Longting Hall. The calamity has finally begun. Shen Long felt the floating merits in the sky, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Those powerful people in the ancient world thought that Shen Long did not intend to participate in measuring the calamity, but they did not know that he had already been measuring every important step of the calamity. All nodes are fully prepared. There can only be one winner in this calamity, and it must be Shen Long. Time flies by, and more than 10 years have passed in the blink of an eye. In the 4 major continents of ancient times, the competition between Taoism and Buddhism has reached a fever pitch. You can see the 2 sects fighting and debating almost everywhere, but all of this has no impact on the calamity. Far away in the Huaguo Mountain in Dongxing, China, Sun Wukong is still happy, but he has no idea that he is being stared at. The time is almost up. It's time to put on a big show with him. In fact, after Sun Wukong practiced the method, he had already entered the realm of immortality. As long as his true body and soul remained intact, his lifespan would not be exhausted at all. But this was not a problem for Ji Yin. As long as the underworld takes action to steal his soul, just make up a random Yang Shao to deceive Sun Wukong, and let him tear up the fake book of life and death in anger. Ji Yin knew that Emperor Fengdu was actually the incarnation of Kong Zhuan. If he wanted to perform the play, he would eventually have to ask Shen Long for permission. Later, Ji Yin personally went to the Longting Hall in Wuliangsi to meet with Shen Long and put forward his request. If fellow Taoist Zhu Long is willing to agree, I will be considered as a poor Taoist who owes fellow Taoist a great cause, and I will definitely be grateful. Ji Yin begged Shen Long, I can make that Sun Wukong cause a scene in the underworld, but one cause and effect is not enough. This is a good opportunity to take advantage of, and Shen Long will not let it go easily. Chapter 294. Almost all the saints in the prehistoric era owe Shen Long karma, but how can they help Shen Long? Even if the chaos demon god invades, Shen Long can only repel it alone, and the other saints are simply useless. No matter how much they owe the cause and effect, it's just a debt that they can't worry about repaying. Shen Long might as well ask for some of the vested interests he can get now. In this case, fellow Taoist Zhu Long will offer a price. Ji Yin is determined to win Sun Wukong, and he can afford to pay a little more. Recently, Buddhism's luck has been rising day by day, almost as much as Taoism. I heard that there's a strong momentum to compete for the East. Shen Long narrowed his eyes slightly. I want 30% of your Buddhism luck, plus the cause and effect you promised before, then I will allow you to let Sun Wukong cause trouble in the underworld. 30% luck? Ji Yin was shocked when he heard the words. He almost thought he heard wrong. It directly weakened the luck of Buddhism by nearly 1/3. Even if the sect's merits continued after its establishment, he could not bear such a high price. 30% luck, plus one cause and effect. No matter what is missing, the underworld will never let Sun Wukong cause a scene. Shen Long's tone was unquestionable. Either stay with luck now, or leave immediately. Fellow Taoist Zhu Long, is there really no need for discussion? You must also know that in today's Buddhism, Pine Dao is not the only one who talks about things. If Randang and Tathagata disagree, Pine Dao will also be in a very difficult position. Ji Yin really couldn't bear to pay the high fortune, and instead hoped to cut down the price. What Randang and Tathagata ask for has nothing to do with me. That is a matter for your Buddhist sect. Fellow Taoists can make their own decisions. Shen Long couldn't help but sneer in his heart after hearing this. Although Randang and Tathagata are called Buddhas, they still have to obey his orders and instructions. He absolutely does not believe that Randang and Tathagata, who have just joined Buddhism less than 100 years ago, are already strong enough to the point of jointly discussing matters with the leading court. Okay, just as Taoist Zhu Long said, Pine Dao will hand over 30% of his luck, and I hope that Taoist Emperor Feng Du will try his best to cooperate. After hesitating for a long time, Ji Yin had to grit his teeth and agree. After all, this is really important to his layout. The layout of Liangji is interlocking, and even if a small link goes wrong, the consequences will be disastrous. He doesn't want to cause complications. Deal, as you wish. Shen Long smiled faintly. He only needed to cooperate in a play to get 30% of Buddhism's luck. This deal was really a good deal. He stopped talking nonsense and handed over his luck to Shen Long as agreed. That's it. When the 30% Buddhist destiny was transferred from Ji Yin's body to Shen Long, the Buddha's light shining on Lingshan Mountain in the west dimmed a little. On the sky of the boundless sea, a ray of Buddha's light shone down, symbolizing the belonging of this destiny. All the disciples in the Buddhist sect had no idea that the Buddhist sect's luck had suddenly dropped by 1/3. Fellow Taoist Zhu Long, farewell. Ji Yin bid farewell to Shen Long with heartache, and then left to return to western Lingshan. The luck of Buddhism had declined, and in a short period of time he could only avoid continuing to fight with Xuanmen, and expand the power of Buddhism as much as possible to make up for his luck. However, the most fatal point is that Shen Long now controls 30% of Buddhism's luck. This proves that he can have a certain influence on the direction of Buddhism in the future. Chapter 295. Although it cannot directly determine the future of Buddhism like Ji Yin, its subtle influence is inevitable. Now the only way to lead is to win this calamity and let Buddhism become the largest religion in the world, so there is no need to worry about this. But how could Shen Long let him win the calamity so easily? This is why he asked for Buddhist luck. After the receptionist left, Shen Long immediately ordered Kong Zhuan to come to Wu Liangsi to meet him, and fully informed him of the intention of the receptionist. Teacher, do you really plan to let him have his wish? Ji Yin was willing to hand over even 30% of his luck, which shows how seriously he takes this matter. Kong Zhuan was very worried about this matter. This emperor just agreed and allowed him, Sun Wukong, to cause a scene. It is not that he must stand on the side of Buddhism to guide and help him from now on. Shen Long smiled calmly. It just so happens that I also intend to let Sun Wukong be wild once more. Sun Wukong caused chaos in the underworld in order to encourage Sun Wukong's wild nature and make him even more stubborn in the future. It will not be easy for him to be accepted by Buddhism. In this way, it is also an opportunity for Shen Long. The disciple understands that if the teacher arranges it in this way, the disciple will do his best. Kong Zhuan lowered his head to Shen Long and immediately responded. After Kong Zhuan left, Shen Long opened the world again and repeatedly explored the vast and endless world to find the next suitable target. The prehistoric years are like running water, and in the blink of an eye, it is already 10 years later, and the overt and secret struggle between Taoism and Buddhism has become more and more intense, and there is no longer any cover-up. What is not known to all living beings is that after Sun Wukong practiced cultivation in Lingtai Fangkun Mountain, he traveled for many years before returning to Huago Mountain again. When Sun Wukong returned to Huago Mountain, he found that his Huago Mountain was occupied by a group of demons of unknown origin. The leader of the Demon King called himself the Demon King of Hunshai, and had been bullying the monkeys in Huago Mountain at will for more than 10 years. How could Sun Wukong tolerate the Demon King bullying the monkey clan? He was so furious that he started fighting on the spot. With the techniques Sun Wukong learned from Patriarch Body, it was no problem to deal with these monsters. Not only did he kill most of the monsters, but he also made the Demon King escape in panic. The monkey tribes in Huago Mountain also happily welcomed the return of Sun Wukong. At this point, Sun Wukong was in charge of Huago Mountain, and the nearby monsters did not have the guts to offend him. Huago Mountain was gradually prospering, but the more monsters Sun Wukong defeated, the more he suffered from not having a handy weapon. Every time he fought with other monsters, he could only fight with bare hands. But just at this moment, the six-eared macaque who had been observing Sun Wukong in the dark appeared again. Adding fuel to the fire, he transformed into a red-faced horse monkey and took the initiative to mention to Sun Wukong that under the East China Sea near Huago Mountain, there are countless treasures among the Dragon Clan, and they possess countless magical weapons. If the king can ask for a handy weapon from the Dragon Clan, future battles will be unfavorable. Even the immortals in heaven will not be able to resist the king. The red-faced horse monkey suggested to Sun Wukong in a persuasive way. Really? If you can really get a suitable weapon, it's worth the trip. When Sun Wukong heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. He eagerly jumped down from his Monkey King's throne and immediately headed to the East China Sea. Chapter 296. Watching Sun Wukong leave, the red-faced monkey smiled mysteriously. He did not turn into the six-eared macaque and leave, but decided to stay in the Flower and Fruit Mountain for the time being. Huago Mountain is not far from the East China Sea. Sun Wukong can quickly enter the East China Sea from the stream in the Huago Mountain and go straight to the East China Sea Dragon Court. Is this the Dragon Clan? Along the way, Sun Wukong met many Dragon Clan people. What he saw were all powerful and amazing, which shocked him greatly. However, the Dragon Clan people did not stop him, but allowed him to enter the Dragon Clan area. Of course, all of this it's all Shen Long's orders. Otherwise, as long as Shen Long gives an order, Sun Wukong will not even be able to enter the East China Sea. Heresium? At this point, you have stepped into the territory of our Dragon Clan, and you are not allowed to take another half step forward. Just when Sun Wukong dived into the bottom of the East China Sea, a ray of light flashed, and Shen Long personally stopped him in front of him and gave a stern order. Of course, at this time, Shen Long completely concealed his aura, and the cultivation level he showed was roughly the same as that of Sun Wukong. Fellow Taoist, I, the old grandson, have no ill intentions when entering the Dragon Palace. I just want to ask for something. If you get it, leave as soon as you get it. Seeing that Shen Long's cultivation level in front of him seemed to be similar to his own, Sun Wukong also lowered his guard and stepped forward with a playful smile. Begging for something? What are you going to ask for? Shen Long asked knowingly. I heard that the Dragon Clan family has a great cause for a magical weapon, so I came here to ask for it in person. Can I fulfill it? Sun Wukong still looks playful and smiling. Just want a weapon? Haha. Why is this so difficult? I happen to be a member of the East China Sea Dragon Clan who is in charge of weapons and spiritual treasures. If you are interested, I will take you to pick one in person. Shen Long smiled faintly, but readily agreed, and personally took Sun Wukong deep into the East China Sea, directly to the stater that day you left in the East China Sea to measure the depth of the sea when he was controlling the water, which is also the so-called Dinghai Shenzhen. When Sun Wukong saw when I arrived at the Sea Dinging Needle God, which was an unknown number of tens of thousands of feet high and almost connected to the surface of the deep sea, like a huge pillar reaching the sky. I suddenly realized that I seemed to have a strange spiritual resonance with it. It was as if this sea-dinging needle was a part of my body. But just let yourself be driven as you please. This magic weapon is the treasure of our East China Sea Dragon clan. It's called the Dinghai Divine Needle. If you like it and can take it away, just take it. It's just that you monkey head must hurry up. Our dragon clan does not easily give treasures to outsiders and let other clan members notice it. I will be punished. Shen Long looked a little embarrassed. Hee, brother, I'm really grateful. I didn't expect you to be willing to give such a magic weapon to me. I owe you a huge favor. Sun Wukong was overjoyed. He didn't expect that Shen Long would be so generous to him, even risking punishment to help him. At that moment, Sun Wukong came under the Dinghai Shen needle and hugged the thick giant pillar, and the Dinghai Shen needle seemed to knowing that Sun Wukong's mind was normal. He shrank instantly. In an instant, the seeding needle shrank to the size of an eyebrow-level stick, and it was just right for Sun Wukong to hold in his hand. On the seeding needle, a ray of light flashed, and there was a line of words: Ruai Golden Cudgel. Good name. From now on, this weapon will be called Ruai Golden Cudgel. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 297. Sun Wukong was so excited that he waved the Ruai Golden Cudgel in his hand and couldn't put it down. Shen Long asked with a smile, Heresium, is this weapon still handy? Of course, that's so generous, dude. Sun Wukong was overjoyed and laughed heartily. This sea-fixing needle is the stater that day you left in the East China Sea to measure the sea depth when he was controlling the floods. If you can take it away, it also shows that you are destined to the Dragon Clan, so I will give you another thing. As he spoke, Shen Long flicked his fingers, and a ray of golden light flashed past, flew into Sun Wukong's body, and instantly merged with him. Huh? What is that? Sun Wukong felt his whole body shake, but he didn't notice anything strange inside his body. You will know later. Shen Long smiled meaningfully without explaining, and Sun Hu was also very caring and simply ignored it. I owe you this time. Boom. Sun Wukong was about to say something to Shen Long when suddenly there was a violent tremor at the bottom of the East China Sea. The water surged wildly and many places on the seabed suddenly collapsed. Sun Wukong jumped up in shock. He did not expect that after he took away the Dinghai Shen needle, he would actually cause a wave in the East China Sea. Such a sudden change. Dude, my grandson has taken the first step. If you come to Huago Mountain to find me in the future, I will definitely help you if you need anything. Sun Wukong left these words and hurriedly left. Returning to Huago Mountain, Shen Long looked at Sun Wukong's leaving back and smiled lightly. After he completely left his sight, Shen Long waved his hand, and the sea on the bottom of the East China Sea was revealed. The tremors suddenly stopped. All of this was naturally arranged by Shen Long, who deliberately gave the Dinghai Divine Needle to Sun Wukong. In this way, he and Sun Wukong would be entangled in cause and effect, and he would naturally be able to interfere in the calamity dispute. Although he had nothing to do with Sun Wukong before, it has nothing to do with it. But Shen Long inadvertently extracted a trace of Sun Wukong's soul and left it on the Dinghai Divine Needle, allowing it to resonate with Dinghai's true body. In this way, the Dinghai Divine Needle can do whatever it wants and obey Sun Wukong's orders. As for what he left behind in Sun Wukong's body, it is a true dragon bloodline. If Sun Wukong waits until the future to completely integrate this bloodline, his cultivation level will definitely increase sharply, and at the same time, he will also form a cause and effect with the Dragon Clan. This time measuring the calamity has officially entered Shen Long's plan. Zishan, Lingshan. At this time, Jiyan was calculating the fate of Sun Wukong step by step, but suddenly realized that Sun Wukong entered the East China Sea and obtained a magic weapon. But because Shen Long was involved, Jiyan's cultivation level was so different from Shen Long's that it was impossible to deduce Shen Long's existence and could only draw a very vague result. Unexpectedly, with Sun Wukong's temperament, could it be that Sun Wukong went to the East China Sea to cause trouble again? The introduction is very confusing. How could the Dragon Clan let Sun Wukong succeed so easily? Tathagata asked doubtfully. Buddha, did the Dragon Clan also get involved and interfere with Sun Wukong's fate? Zhu Long did not intervene in Pindao's calculation. Ji Yun shook his head and denied Tathagata's remarks. However, as of now, Sun Wukong's fate has not been affected much. Maybe don't worry. The last sentence is more like what he said to himself. However, with the big trouble in the underworld coming soon, Ji Yun couldn't take care of this much, so he could only put it down temporarily. Chapter 298. After Sun Wukong returned to Huago Mountain from the Dragon Clan in the East China Sea, he became invincible to the Demon Clan around Huago Mountain with the magic weapon Ruai Golden Cudgel he obtained. Over time, Sun Wukong's desire to fight has become stronger. Even without waiting for provocation from the demon clans in various places, he actually took the initiative to find well-known demon kings from various places to challenge him, without any defeat. The extremely arrogant Sun Wukong is famous among the demon clan. Almost all the demon clan have a headache when they see him. In this way, Sun Wukong caroused and lived happily for another 100 years, until one day when he was extremely drunk in Huago Mountain. The underworld sent the seductive bull-headed horse Noodles as promise to bring Sun Wukong's soul to the underworld and informed him Yangzhou is over. Although Sun Wukong had already transcended the limitations of life and death due to his study of the method, Sun Wukong was still convinced by the bull-headed horse-faced coaxing. As a result, Sun Wukong became extremely angry. My old grandson has spent countless years cultivating to this point. Now that I have made a statement, I don't know how many demon clans have surrendered. Why do you just say nothing and let me enter reincarnation? Today I will let you taste the power of my old grandson. Sun Wukong was furious. He waved his golden cudgel and smashed the Fengdu ghost gate directly. Then he rushed directly into the underworld and killed all the ghosts and monsters who blocked him. In a short time, the underworld went from Huanggun Road to Nijingtai, and then to the city of wasted death. I don't know how many ghosts and ghosts were scattered, howling and screaming. The many ghosts and ghosts in the underworld did not expect that such a stupid young man would rush into the underworld so recklessly. No one could stop him along the way. Sun Wukong became more and more enthusiastic and started fighting all the way. Go to the Hall of Yama. The King of Hell who guards the Hall of Yama has no idea that all this is arranged by Emperor Fengdu. He wants to fight Sun Wukong without overestimating his own abilities. However, he is defeated and has to be forced by Sun Wukong to hand over his life or death. Book. What a bullshit book of life and death. The number of Yang lifespan is determined by it. So why don't I, son, study the method of immortality? Just destroy it directly, so that all living beings can live forever. Sun Wukong laughed wildly, and then directly tore up the Book of Life and Death. The King of Hell of the 10 Palaces was frightened and shouted to stop, but Sun Wukong went his own way. After tearing up the Book of Life and Death, he also destroyed the entrance hall of Yama Palace and walked away. Behind him, only the chicken feathers in the Yama Hall were left, as well as the 10th Hall of Yamas who were about to cry without tears. At this moment, Emperor Fengdu appeared and came to the dilapidated Yama Hall in person, shocking the 10th Hall of Hell. Quickly pay homage to Emperor Fengdu. Meet the Emperor. I am incompetent. Please forgive me. Now that the Book of Life and Death has been destroyed, you see. The Yamas of the 10 Palaces apologized one after another, but Emperor Fengdu ignored them at all. He just used his magical power to restore the destroyed ghost gates and evil mirror platforms in the underworld to their original state. Sun Wukong's troubles in the underworld should not be ignored from now on. All ghost disciples in the underworld are not allowed to come to seek revenge on Sun Wukong. Emperor Fengdu gave a cold order, and then he handed over the genuine Book of Life and Death to the 10th Palace King of Hell. Obey. The 10th Palace of Hell looked at the still well-preserved Book of Life and Death, and was really confused. Emperor Fengdu had obviously expected that Sun Wukong would break into the underworld and tear up the Book of Life and Death. But why didn't he stop him and instead allowed the monkey to do whatever he wanted? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 299. If Emperor Fengdu takes action, it will be easy for Sun Wukong to be destroyed physically and mentally. After Emperor Fengdu left, Ji Yin, Shen Long and others learned of the matter. Good. Zhu Long is indeed trustworthy. In this way, Sun Wukong's sinful karma is still short of making a big fuss in heaven. Ji Yin felt relieved, and then he sent a messenger talisman to Emperor Hashan of the heavenly court. Emperor Hashan didn't respond angrily to him. Everything was as arranged by Ji Yin. However, Ji Yin's step-by-step plan was unexpectedly revealed. Sanqing saw it in their eyes, and they also realized the importance of Sun Wukong. Ji Yin has made so many plans, and even handed over the third level of Buddhist luck to the Dragon Clan, all just to make Sun Wukong do whatever he wants. Is it so worth it? Yuan Shai had doubts in his heart. No matter what, the only thing is to prevent Sun Wukong from entering Buddhism. It would be best if he could be admitted into Taoism. I pondered for a moment, then played a communication talisman and sent it to the hands of Emperor Hashan in heaven. In just a short moment, Emperor Hashan responded to me, but I was furious. How could Hashan be so self-assertive? I actually owe such a big cause and effect to Ji Yin, and all my plans have been disrupted. When I made an agreement between Hashan and Ji Yin to let Sun Wukong make a big fuss in the heavenly palace, they were equally angry. Doesn't this mean that Xuanmen has to pay a price to help Buddhism achieve success? That's it. If we don't understand the cause and effect, in the future, Ji Yin may use some excessive methods to let Hashan know. It would be better to get rid of these troublesome things as soon as possible. No matter how helpless I am, I can only accept it. Yuan Shai, let me tell you that Yang Jian, a disciple of your Chan sect, has entrusted him with the task of measuring the calamity. After some arrangements by Lao Tzu, Yuan Shi took the order and left. However, not long after Yuan Shi left, Tongshan, who had always frowned and said nothing, asked me, "Brother, now Buddhism and the Dragon Clan are trading luck. Does this mean that the Dragon Clan is on the side of Buddhism?" Tongshan said so asked. I couldn't help but feel stunned. Just as Tongshan said, if Ji Yin is really willing to sacrifice his own life to win over Shen Long, then Xuanmen will have no chance of winning against Buddhism. I'm afraid we won't know all this for the time being. Neither I nor Jing Yin could have imagined what Shen Long's real intention was in intervening in the calamity. After causing havoc in the underworld, Sun Wukong's prestige among the demon clan instantly rose to the extreme. Of course, all sentient beings in the wild do not know that all this is a big show jointly arranged by Buddhism and the Dragon Clan. They all think that Sun Wukong has amazing magical powers and is omnipotent. As if they saw a life-saving straw, those demon clans scattered in the prehistoric and declining world rushed to the Huago Mountain to seek refuge, taking Sun Wukong as their backer. For a time, Sun Wukong was so arrogant that he even called himself the king of demons. At the same time, Emperor Hashan had to follow the agreement with Ji Yin, and in the name of Sun Wukong causing trouble in the underworld and destroying the Book of Life and Death, he sent immortal generals to lead heavenly soldiers to attack Huago Mountain in order to rectify the power of heaven. This battle was just a superficial battle. The immortal generals sent were not at a high level in order to defeat Sun Wukong, but the result of this battle was completely unexpected. With the golden cudgel given by Shen Long in hand, and having mastered the blood of the true dragon, Sun Wukong's combat power turned out to be extremely powerful to an extremely terrifying level. Chapter 300. Sun Wukong fought hard and not only defeated all the heavenly soldiers who tried to capture him, but even the immortal general who commanded the heavenly soldiers was easily defeated by him and almost died. In this way, Emperor Hashan was shocked. He originally thought that Sun Wukong would barely win after a hard fight, but he never wanted him to win so easily. Even Lian Yin never thought that Sun Wukong could be so powerful. However, this did not affect the progress of the plan. Neither Ji Yin nor Emperor Hashan paid too much attention to it, thinking that Sun Wukong just got some unexpected opportunities. They would never have imagined that this so-called unexpected was all arranged by Shen Long. Beyond the wilderness, There is chaos. A group of Buddhist disciples passed through the space passage and collected some refining materials on the Death Star in chaos that could only be generated under the karma of chaos. I wonder if it is because the grievances of the 5 chaos demon gods have not disappeared yet. But there is still extremely strong karma at the entrance of the space passage, making it difficult for these Buddhist disciples to resist. Everyone, collect it as soon as possible and return to the primitive world immediately. Otherwise it will be very bad if these karma erode the soul. The leader gave the order, and the Buddhist disciples did not dare to delay for a moment, and immediately collected materials from the Death Star's destruction mountain range. When they finished their work, they found that the karma around them became more and more intense, and even made it difficult for their souls to stabilize. Return to the space channel quickly. Can't delay it any longer. These Buddhist disciples got up and flew towards the space passage, but the surrounding karma suddenly condensed and turned into dozens of solid mist and rushed towards them. All this happened too suddenly. Several Buddhist disciples before he understood what happened. He was entangled and swallowed by karma in the next moment, and his true body and soul instantly turned into nothingness. Not good. This is the method of the chaos demon god. I don't know who screamed, and all the Buddhist disciples were suddenly in chaos. Screams could be heard from time to time. They panicked and bombarded the chaotic karma in an attempt to protect themselves. However, those karma that were condensed and difficult to deal with were not at all based on their Daowo-Jingxian cultivation. I can handle it. Those karma were not damaged at all, but the Buddhas were devoured one by one, until in the end only 2 or 3 people were left and fled to the entrance of the space passage, rushing into it in panic. Snort! A disdainful sneer suddenly sounded, and the next moment, several demonic claws emerged from the sky and suddenly grabbed them in their hands and crushed them to pieces. These Buddhists didn't even have time to send out the messenger talisman, and even the face of the chaos demon god could not be seen. Even if you haven't seen it, you've been completely slaughtered. You have to kill these mere ants yourself, which is a waste of time. In the void, the demon god of reincarnation appeared, looking at the floating blood mist with disdain. Although these things are little ants, it does not mean that they are useless. Haha. The heavenly demon god then appeared, and he was seen grabbing at the void, condensing the karma in the void, and turned it into the Buddhist disciples who had just been slaughtered. Not only did they look flawless, they actually had their own consciousness and knelt down in the void to worship the heavenly demon god. Do you want them to sneak into Buddhism and act as internal agents? Just with these rubbish, nothing can be accomplished. The demon god of samsara frowned slightly. Obviously he thought this was just a waste of time. Chapter 301. I heard that there are constant internal conflicts in the ancient world because of the upcoming calamity. It is best for us to grasp all the moves of the powerful people in the ancient world and be on camera when the time comes. Don't forget, we and the 3,000 demon gods can't afford to lose this time. The heavenly demon god glanced at those Buddha disciples, and then they immediately stood up and returned to the space passage. Since you know you can't afford to lose, have you ever thought that once they are led to see through, we will definitely alert them? The demon god of reincarnation seems to be very worried about this. Don't worry, with the number of this demon's creations, no one can see through it unless they are like the ancestral dragon who can see through the thousand-faced demon. The Tanling demon god is obviously very confident about his plan. He absolutely does not believe that there can be a second powerful person like Shen Long in the ancient world. In the blink of an eye, 7 years have passed since Sun Wukong defeated the heavenly soldiers. During this period, heaven seemed to have forgotten the disastrous defeat and the attack on Huago Mountain, and Emperor Hashan never attacked Huago Mountain again. Of course, all of this is my order to Emperor Hashan, asking him to delay as much time as possible. Although Xuanmen has lost the opportunity to take the lead in the battle for Calamity, it would be best to delay some time for them to make more arrangements. As this delay continued, Ji Yun became increasingly restless, and had to urge Emperor Hashan many times to allow his plan to continue to be implemented. In this way, 7 years later, Emperor Hashan summoned all the immortals and publicly rebuked Sun Wukong for his crime of tearing up the Book of Life and Death and injuring the general. However, God has the virtue of good life, So Sun Wukong was born from Nuwa's sky-mending stone. He is a spiritual being in the world. It would be a pity to kill him directly, whenever possible. It would not be a bad idea to give him an immortal status and let him serve the heaven. Just when the immortals thought that Emperor Hashan was about to send powerful immortals to destroy Huago Mountain and kill Sun Wukong, Emperor Hashan suddenly changed the topic. The immortals were astonished. Emperor Hashan would actually forgive a creature who was not even a quasi-sage like this. This is completely inconsistent with the character of Emperor Hashan. You know, if he wanted to kill Sun Wukong, it was just a matter of a thought. Emperor, are you sure? The heavenly king Li Jing asked carefully. God must be merciful. If he can't tolerate even a monkey, then the magnanimity of heaven will be too small. Emperor Hashan said with a faint smile. Then he summoned Tabai Jinxing and ordered him to go down to the realm immediately. He announced that Sun Wukong would be accepted into the heaven, and he would be given the immortal book. From then on, he would serve the heaven. This Emperor, will you consider this? Then Sun Wukong has a shallow cultivation and no merits. If he casually gives immortal status, wouldn't it make all sentient beings mistakenly think that heaven is afraid of Sun Wukong? Tabai Jinxing also looked quite embarrassed. Obviously he didn't want to do this job. All you have to do is follow this emperor's orders, and you don't need to worry about other things. Emperor Hashan's answer was more straightforward, and Tabai Jinxing had no choice but to obey Emperor Hashan's order. Later, Tabai Jinxing rushed to Huago Mountain in person, informed Sun Wukong of Emperor Hashan's decision, and allowed him to become an immortal and naturalize. From now on, we will serve heaven. I hope you will not disappoint the Emperor's good intentions. As a spiritual creature of heaven and earth, the Emperor cannot bear to kill you, Tabai Jinxing said meaningfully. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.